All that.
Is this live? Are we live?
Yes,
wait.
it's live.
Oh, wait. Okay. Okay, we're live. We're live. All right. 7 seconds. I'm going to do my Vin Diesel impersonation. We're live, Steve. We're live. We're doing a live. Guys, we're doing a live. We're live. We're live. Steve, we're live.
Yeah.
We're live.
Yeah, maybe
we're doing a live. Guys, we're live. We're doing a live. We're live.
If you keep doing it, it's going to end up
We're
being
live.
Of
Guys, we're live.
We're live.
We are live. This is alive. And we're going to be talking about Ahsoka, Season 1, Episodes 4 and 5. Episode 5 is amazing. If you are a fan of Clone Wars, you will love the episode. And we're going to get into it, but I just want to say, the actress who played young Ahsoka, she was incredible. She completely reminded me why I love Clone Wars and love that entire era. In fact, I would love to do for them to do a 1 hour one shot of young Ahsoka with that actress, with Hayden Christensen's Anakin Skywalker, or an actor playing a younger Anakin Skywalker is 21 or 22, who looks like Hayden Christensen. Because if they don't want to spend the extra money to do de-aging technology, then just do that. I would pay for that.
For some reason, part of me feels like they don't even want to touch that money, but they'll definitely keep using technology.
I was surprised they did de-aging technology for Anakin and Ahsoka in the Ahsoka series, but they didn't do it for the Obi-Wan series. I find that to be hilarious.
I find that to be very rude.
I thought that was really funny. It was so weird. They just had Anakin looking... They had Hayden Christensen looking his age in Obi-Wan, and in Ahsoka, they did the de-aging technology and made him look 16 years younger.
I'm gonna add extra tags just because here. And that's that.
You almost done?
It's not even for kids. I'm almost done.
I'm glad this live thing is working on my phone.
Probably put it down on an angle so it can just support itself, so you don't have to hold it up every 10 seconds or every 5 seconds you're holding it.
I'm fine with holding it. Yeah, I'm just gonna hold it. I'm fine with holding it.
Okay. Let me just put this in a manner of here.
All right.
I'll definitely be.
It's the moment of truth, y'all. It's the moment of truth.
Yeah.
All right, we're going
Holding
live.
the phone at a live stream while the live stream's preparing to set up, while it's setting up, while it's set up.
We're live. We are live. Hello,
We're
everybody.
live, yes.
Does the microphone work?
Should work.
Let's hope so. Let's hope it works.
It's working. It's working.
We're alive, everybody.
You see it right there.
We're alive.
Well, I hope
it's alive. We're live.
Unless it's be a waste of my money.
It's alive. Guys, we're live. Sorry. The Vin Diesel live stream were epic back in the day. I hope he does that again because that shit was hilarious. But okay, so what would you rate 1 through 10 for episodes 4 and 5?
Let me get my notes because I take notes during every time I watch this.
Yeah, I know. I mean, before
before
we get into just talking about the episodes, I just want to know what your rating is. What did you think?
I want to go through my notes one more time so I can give you a proper number, and then instead of saying in the future that I disagree with it.
I think just give me the number and then just go through the notes, because the notes are a lot. The notes are going to be a whole lot.
Nah. So when it comes to episode 4, there were a couple things that I felt, series built on greatly and then it did poorly. I'd give episode 4 maybe a 6.
A 6?
High 6.
I give it a 9 because of that episode.
For episode 4?
Episode 4 I thought was great. The fight choreography was great. The fighting was great. The intensity of it. Balon. I love how Balon. I love how the Dark Jedi are a little bit like the Sith, but they're really nothing like the Sith. He has this sentimental love and admiration for the Jedi, and he's so sad that there's so few left, but he has to do what he has to do to gain power. So it's like Balin and his Padawan are on the dark side, but they're not Sith, they're Jedi, and that's what I'm loving about it. And I would give episode 4 a 9 out of 10. What rating would you give episode 5?
Episode 5, well, the thing with episode 5 was that it was just too predictable. There were a lot of questions that need to be answered. They'll probably answer them in the next episode.
It was a character-focused episode. Yeah.
It was a character-focused episode. However, because of the fact that I'm going off of logic in Star Wars, and the logic that exists in Star Wars is very direct, I'd have to give it maybe a high 5, low 6.
Why? Okay, well, before we get into it, let me just give my rating. I give episode 5 10 out of 10. I thought it was a masterpiece. It was incredible. My thoughts is that it was a great like character-focused episode. It fully explored and developed Ahsoka as a character. It connected to everything she went through in the Clone Wars. Not everything, but it showed a part of it. And her going through the final Jedi training with Anakin, her master, and him completing her training and showing her evolution in that episode, and him helping her deal with her grief and to overcome her grief. And once she was able to overcome it, and she kind of tapped into the dark side just a little bit, but she was able to reject it. And he was like, great, you are now a Jedi. You did it. You got through your shit. You pulled through. And now you are the all-powerful Jedi that I was training you to be. And she completed her training. And so I thought it was great. It was the best episode. Dave Filoni is Star Wars. He knows Star Wars like the back of his own hand. And this, to me, is the best Star Wars series next to Andor and the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. So, yeah, what did you think? I mean, what are your thoughts? Go ahead.
Okay, well, episode 5, what I enjoyed, what I did like about it was the whole aspect of you're amongst the Force because you're with Anakin, and you're moving through time itself. Memories from what her experience with Anakin or alongside Anakin or campaigns as a Jedi, as a militant Jedi, excuse me, because the Jedi became militarized during the time of the Sith Empire. They became militarized. And that's what led to the downfall and the High Republic and all that crap. But moving on, what I enjoyed about it was, okay.
You mean the Sith downfall?
No, the Sith Empire brought the Jedi, because if you understand...
No, you mean the war between the Sith and the Jedi, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That time, the Jedi went from peacekeepers to a militarized group.
And they won the war, and then they went to the High Republic and everything else.
Yeah, and then from the High Republic is when the downfall of the Jedi was occurring very hard.
Which happened 50 years before the prequels. Yeah.
Episode 1.
And then led to the prequels, led to the Republic.
What was that one medium that involved the story before episode 1?
It was a book, yeah.
I'm trying to remember the name of it. If you remember, feel free to say it.
Was it a Star Wars canon book?
Well, before Disney bought it, it was considered canon. Now,
so it's just legend, right? But I mean,
well, it is canon if we're going off.
But if we're talking about Disney Plus Star Wars shows, we gotta stick to canon because they're not. While they're adapting some stuff from Legends now because of Dave Filoni, we gotta stick with the canon timeline. But yeah, there was 50 years before the prequels, the fall of the Jedi happened, and we're gonna get into that next year with the Acolyte series, which shows the Sith. I don't love the showrunner's opinions on George Lucas and Star Wars. I do like some of the work that she's done. I do like that the show is about an actual Sith Lord, and it shows the Sith rising and taking it and making the Jedi completely fall apart from the High Republic era. But the High Republic has not interested anybody. Like, those book sales were not great after the Phase 1. And it's sad, too, because I think Claudia Gray's books are really, really good. I think she's a great writer. But, yeah, the High Republic doesn't really interest anybody. But
no, the High Republic, the thing with the High Republic is that the High Republic was a time of peace. There's like nothing.
But the writing has not been great for most of the writers.
There was a lot of political instability, but other than that, it's just a boring timeline.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's mostly because most of the writers are just not great. The only great writer is Claudia Gray. She's the only great one.
Timothy Zahn is also another one.
But he writes his Thrawn books.
No, he writes Thrawn books. He writes within the Galactic Empire's
No,
timeline.
he writes...
No. Thrawn is from the Galactic Empire. Thrawn is from the Galactic Empire.
Right, but
so
that's what he writes.
When I say he writes from the Galactic Empire's timeline, I'm referring to the time of when the
and also
Empire
after their
rose
timeline.
to when it was falling.
But he also writes after their timeline, too, because he's focusing entirely on Thrawn. But Timothy Zahn is beloved because of his Heir to the Empire trilogy, and he's still beloved because his Star Wars canon books are some of the best reviewed canon books because he's really, really great. But next to Timothy Zahn, Claudia Gray would be the second best Star Wars writer. She would be number 2 on the list.
Anyways, I enjoy the fact that they were going through the whole time. So it shows you that the Force isn't constrained by just a location or a place.
Yeah.
And as Lucas said in episode 1 with Qui-Gon, as Qui-Gon said in episode 1 through Lucas' storytelling, the Force exists in all things all around us. The rocks, the animals, the cells, breath, life, all that. Well, not those words exactly, but more so along those lines.
Right.
And it shows you how Jedi are able to learn even after death, or even during death, or even when they die. In death and after death, Jedi are able to learn. What I disliked about it was, in episode 5, what I disliked was the whole going rogue against the military chain of command. Rather than provide any actual credible, logical sort of input to the chancellors, Hera decided to say, "Fuck you guys, I'm gonna go with my own."
Yeah, I love it because they're rebels, and that's who she is. And we're starting to see the elements of why the New Republic fell apart, because the New Republic is everything that the previous Republic was, and democracy in the Republic and its strident, stringent way of doing things is, I think, is what's going to eventually lead to their downfall, because what made the rebellion so great was that they were rebelling against a corrupted government. But as soon as you become government, you yourself start to become corrupted because of power, manipulation, and greed. And I think what was so great about that with Hera is that she is rebelling against the Senate and the New Republic, who is slowly being corrupted, because I think some of those senators in the New Republic are working with Thrawn, and they are working with remnants of the Empire, and they're trying. They're trying.
Wait. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not fact. This is not something we can attest to, or we can confirm. This is all pure speculation.
This is all theories with what's going on here.
Speculation. So,
this is all theories.
So him rambling about them working with Thrawn is all speculation.
No, but I think
here on out, this is all speculation. This is personal
right.
opinion.
This is all theory.
Opinion.
But I think it's going to be proven, because that senator, he was giving off certain vibes that the one on the far right, that he is actively working against Hera and Ahsoka and questioning everything they're doing, because I think he is bought off and owned by the Empire, and the Empire is having people secretly working within the New Republic to try and destroy the New Republic from within, to bring back the Empire, who eventually becomes the First Order. And we saw that with season.
Make any sense.
We saw that with season 3.
It doesn't make sense. You go from Galactic Empire to First Order. What the heck was the constitutional?
Well, because the Empire is wiped out. So why call it the Empire? It's like you got to do a different branding.
Well, no. See,
it's like it's like in real life.
Galactic Empire, which was a force that was created to maintain peace, order, stability in the galaxy, provide employment.
Which didn't do that.
No. It was meant to provide employment.
It was the opposite of that.
To ensure that everything in the galaxy worked.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like every single organization, institution, and every other branch of what may be leadership, you have that tiny few fringe, weird, extremist wackadoos. They get into such high positions, and then they turn the whole thing.
No, but the Empire was created.
No, the Empire
from
was created,
corruption. Yeah, yes. The Empire was created to subjugate and to oppress people.
That's the Empire. The Empire came forth, or the birth of the Empire was on the promise that all this corruption, all this evil, all this misdoing.
Right, but that was all based on a lie.
Much like socialists that they're trying.
No, but that was listen. That was based on a lie, though.
No,
because the Empire.
Let me finish.
Right.
Much like how socialists like to preach about how this needs to happen, and we can go by historical fact that a lot of the countries, or the majority of countries that have gone socialist, have either gone fascistic or communistic.
No, but what George Lucas was criticizing using the Empire in the original trilogy, he was criticizing Republicans, conservatives. That's specifically what he was criticizing.
No, of course.
During the
80s and the 90s.
The 70s, he was criticizing Richard Nixon and the Republicans. In the 90s, going into the 2000s, he was criticizing George W. Bush and the Republicans creating the Patriot Act to wage the war on terror. He specifically said that multiple times, especially when he was interviewed by James Cameron on AMC on James Cameron's science fiction movie legacy TV series.
I completely forgot James Cameron had that.
No, James Cameron was interviewing George Lucas, and George Lucas told him that my primary criticism with the original trilogy and the prequels was the United States empire with using war on terrorism. But you could also say that Star Wars was criticizing the Nazis. And what makes sense about the Empire going from the Empire to the First Order is that it does fit with real life, because the Germans were called something else during World War I, and then over the span of 20 years, they called themselves the Nazis because of Adolf Hitler ascending in the power.
No.
They changed their name and they changed their branding. So it makes sense for the Empire to do the same thing.
Nazis, believe it or not, was the founding party that, they rebranded their name from the, and I know So the German audience that may watch this video may butcher how it's enunciated, how it's pronounced. It was the National Socialist Douche Arbitre Party. No.
Hey, what's up, Coach Shelton Harrison? Hey, it's good to see you.
Arbitre Party.
Right.
So that was in English. That's the National Socialist German Workers' Party. I think is what it's called.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah, that's what it was called.
So
yeah. And then it didn't graduate. But back to Star Wars before we go on tangent.
No, but it's a little fun fact. That is where Nazis came from. National Socialists, because they ended up incorporating National Socialism across Germany at that time, and that's where Nazis came in as the enemy.
Right, but Hitler hated socialists completely.
No, Hitler hated them. He despised them.
Yeah, he hated anybody that opposed him completely. But we're going on a tangent.
We're going off tangent here.
We gotta get back to Star Wars.
Let's back up. We want to get back to Star Wars. So.
Right. What Mandalorian season 3 was trying to show was how they're using their members who used to be a part of the Empire that were trying to infiltrate the New Republic and then tear down the New Republic from within. That would eventually lead to the rise of the First Order, who would destroy 5 of the main planets that are the center of the New Republic and the Senate and the government. And that would lead to the 1 year of tyranny from the First Order before they got wiped out in the worst Star Wars movie ever made, The Rise of Skywalker. But I feel that Season 3 of Mandalorian did not execute that aspect as well as what we're seeing with Ahsoka. And Ahsoka has only tread on that. They didn't even completely show it at all.
No, I want to say this. Season 3 of The Mandalorians I felt was less story focused and more accommodating to something else, because whatever people want to believe about Lizzo and Jack Black, they did not belong in
that was a terrible episode.
They did not belong in The Mandalorian.
Yeah, that just
mind you, if you want to say, oh, it's whatever against Lizzo, that woman right now has other issues going on. I would not defend her. Wait for the...
I'm glad her career's falling apart. I'll say that much.
Her career was more so a bully of somebody who basically stepped on others to get ahead.
No, she bullied.
Much like what Hollywood is.
She bullied her dancers, and she had the hypocrisy and the gall to criticize her dancers for gaining weight. I mean, Jesus.
What are you talking about? She's the number one offender of body shaming.
That's hilarious.
I will body shame that woman in the car.
Izzo, yeah, I know. And Izzo's belief that being fat is beautiful and healthy is just objectively wrong. Obesity will kill you. You will die.
I will comment this. As somebody who used to be extremely obese, there are reasons why it is not an attainable lifestyle. And there are multitude of reasons why, health-wise, it is best to get down something healthy. But anyways, we're on off tangent yet again.
Back to Ahsoka.
So the one thing that I want to
I feel like Ahsoka is showing what the Empire, or people who are still sympathetic towards the Empire and are still working for them in secret. I think Ahsoka is doing a better job showing them.
I think Ahsoka does
doing what they're doing better than what Season 3 of Mandalorian did. Even though I'm one of the few people that love Season 3, Episode 3 of The Mandalorian. Everybody seemed to hate that episode.
Well,
I thought it was great because it got away from what was annoying me, which was, as much as I love Mandalorian and Grogu, I feel that the ending for Grogu at Season 2 was a perfect ending. I feel like they're ruining it, bringing him back because Disney wants to keep selling more toys.
Oh, they've lost.
And I feel they ruined the whole story for me.
65% of toy sales for Disney are garbage.
I feel
they lost 65%.
Yeah, they had a huge jump.
Mind you, that's a well-deserved. That's a well-deserved drop. They're trying to put out product nobody wants. Fans do not want to partake of. Fans do not want to see.
But Grogu was their big jump. Grogu was their big jump. But they're ruining the story because of that. Because it's like,
well, they ruined the story already. Because once
they shouldn't have brought him back. They should have just kept.
Grogu toys would sell.
And most people,
to this day, Grogu toys would sell if they were Grogu.
They still sell well.
Sort of. But after he's with Luke, if they were making Grogu products that incorporated some essence of Luke into them. Yeah. Maybe the Jedi Hood.
Yeah.
Maybe the little pose from Dagobah. Something along those lines. They would sell hotcakes. But we're talking about toys, and we're here to talk about Ahsoka.
What's up, Coach? What's up, Shelton Hazard? I'm gonna watch the Valentina fight after we're done here. But yeah, go ahead.
We'll be done in a minute. But the thing with Ahsoka that shows the hypocrisy of the New Republic was when Hera and Carson, whatever his name is, along with the other X-Wing pilots, arrived to the planet, which name I forget because I don't care about a planet that has star whales. I give a womp rat's ass about star whales.
Yeah, and I feel like also Disney screwed up by bringing back Grogu through the Boba Fett series.
Wait. Let's go.
So people were confused going into season 3 of Mandalorian, so they didn't watch it. But anyways, Ahsoka is so much better because Dave Filoni's working on it, and Dave Filoni knows Star Wars like the back of his own hand. And I knew Ahsoka was going to be great because of Dave Filoni working on it. He didn't really work on season 3 of Mandalorian. That was Jon Favreau, and Jon Favreau's hit or miss. But Dave Filoni is usually very, very consistent. He did such a great job with season 7 of Clone Wars. The last 4 episodes were perfection. And I feel Ahsoka has been a really great continuation of Clone Wars and Rebels. I thought it was confusing how Ahsoka went from being Ahsoka the White to back to being Ahsoka normal, and then back to being Ahsoka the White.
Right, you caught that.
But like,
I wondered if
that was the confusing part.
Or if that was
the confusing part.
Unintentionally meant to be.
So when she was Ahsoka the White at the end of Rebels, was it because she was connected to the afterlife, and that was like somehow in the future that Ezra was seeing before Ezra went back to like the current timeline, and who is now 10 years later still stuck with Thrawn? And so Ahsoka had to become Ahsoka the White by completing her training with Anakin Skywalker, and so now she's going to go to the future, or at least she's going to be so powerful to the point where she's going to be where Anakin is. And by the way, I love the fact that Anakin is even in charge of that whole area. Like, he went from being a Jedi to becoming the biggest Sith Lord who redeemed himself, and now in the afterlife, he's like a guardian of that whole area. So Anakin has like graduated to like a higher plane of existence. I think that's great as well. I fucking love the space whales. The space whales are great. Ahsoka went into the space whale, and she's traveling to the far reaches into space. And I'm sad that not a lot of people are watching this great series, but that is Disney's fault for putting up too much content, with most of the content being very disappointing, especially with the MCU. Most of the MCU shows have not been great. And so that's their fault.
No, leave the MCU out of this. Leave the MCU out
right,
of
but
this.
that contributed to why nobody's watching Ahsoka. That contributed to why they're bleeding subscribers and losing billions now on Disney+. It was Disney's fault.
I want to say this, ladies and gentlemen. Whether you believe this is part of the MCU or not, it's irrelevant. I'm here talking about Ahsoka, and I know I've gotten off topic a couple times. The thing with Ahsoka, there are some instances that you leave one to question what the hell went on lore-wise, because things are still discombobulated, disconjected.
Yeah.
It's not connected correctly. The campaign on Mandalore showed Ahsoka striking down Mandalorians wearing Mandalorian armor. That's, by Disney's current standards, that's Beskar. Now,
in Clone Wars?
In her flashback.
Oh, her flashback.
Those that she struck down were Mandalorians.
Oh.
Which makes no sense.
No, wait.
Those were Mandalorians.
I thought she was taking out separatists.
No.
So she wasn't taking out separatists.
No, that whole.
But the Mandalorians were going to war with each other, right? At that time.
At that time, it was a civil war it's a civil war that occurred because of Maul.
Right.
Of Maul.
Yeah.
However,
so that makes her start fighting some of them.
No. But her striking down a Mandalorian with a lightsaber doesn't make sense
but she's done it
by Disney's logic, because of Beskar armor. And if there's not Beskar armor, it's Mandalorian armor, which is strong enough to endure and reflect the lightsaber as well.
Right, but they did that in Clone Wars even back in the 2000s and early 2010s when George Lucas was in charge. George Lucas was never really consistent with damage on lightsabers and what can really repel the damage completely.
George Lucas had sort of foregone.
He was probably less ridiculous than J.J. Abrams, but he never had consistency in his own universe.
No, but the thing
he was just less stupid than J.J. Abrams.
But the thing is,
in terms of science.
No, and the thing is, George Lucas was less consistent. It was not as consistent as he should be. However, it was for the sake of storytelling. Keep that in mind.
No, but even with storytelling, he didn't make any sense either. There was always
I'm not
plenty
talking
of
about
plot
episode,
holes.
I'm not talking about episode 1. I'm talking about the Clone Wars. But episode 1.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
Clone
if you
Wars
wanna
still
count
wasn't always
prequels,
consistency. But also, I noticed with Dave Filoni that.
Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the likes.
Yeah, thank you. But I noticed with Dave Filoni is that when it comes to the animated series are canon in terms of events, but it's like in live action, you're allowed to change things and do your own thing. Like, you don't need to be as faithful to how things are depicted in animation.
Nope. No, it doesn't make a difference. All right.
It doesn't matter. Like, it looks like, according to canon Star Wars, it doesn't matter as much to stay faithful to the animated side.
Sorry. I kind of pretty. It doesn't stay faithful to the animated side.
To the animated side of Star Wars, as opposed to staying more faithful to live action. Like, it's like they're not saying that Clone Wars and Rebels isn't canon, because it still is. Obviously, Ahsoka has connected greatly, but it's not. They don't have to be 100% faithful to everything that was shown in Rebels and Clone Wars.
Well, the thing is, I'll say this, and maybe a 5 is a little too harsh, but I believe a 5 is just
A 7. You should give it a 7.
No.
No, 7.
No, I don't want to give something where
7.
I don't know.
7 for 14-year-old Ahsoka kicking ass.
No,
At least that.
It showed you the hypocrisy of the Jedi, which was militarized, turning their Padawans, the young, into soldiers.
And it was awesome. It was awesome seeing Ahsoka do that. Young Ahsoka kicking ass. And that chick was so fast. Like, the way she was deflecting stuff and turning shit and just killing everybody. I'm like, dude, I want a movie about that.
All right.
I want a live action movie.
I got my notes. My notes. It's a.
And yeah, George.
long.
And by the way,
But we're gonna talk
and yeah,
about
George Lucas also showed that the Jedi's were not perfect either, because them getting involved in a war was antithetical to what the Jedi stood for. And she left the Jedi Order because the Jedis were starting to become corrupted. They were starting to get blinded, but they were still the good guys. The problem was that Anakin wanted his cake and eat it too. He wanted to be the all-powerful Jedi.
Well, he had cake. He couldn't eat it because he killed it.
No, but he wanted his cake and eat it too, because he wanted to be the all-powerful Jedi, and he wanted to be married. He wanted to have sex, and he wanted to have kids. And I'm like, the Jedi Order specifically says you can't do that. So what he should have done is, he could still remain a Force user. He could still keep a lightsaber, but he should have left the Jedi Order, got married to Padme, had kids, and they would have been, really, none of that shit would have happened.
Well, then,
all that shit could have been completely avoided.
You would disconnect episodes 6, 7. Oh, sorry. Episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, but I mean, all the,
disconnected, so
no. If he was smart and not as greedy as he was, he would have made the smart decision to leave the Jedi, get married to Padme openly instead of in secret, have sex, have kids, and not even start his own Jedi Order, but start his own movement that has some of the Jedi beliefs and teachings, but allows his members to fall in love, get married, have kids, have a family, but still focus on the light side of the Force. And that's where the expanded universe came up with the Grey Jedi, and that could have been Anakin Skywalker. He canonically could have been the first Grey Jedi.
Qui-Gon.
No, Qui-Gon's not a Grey Jedi.
Qui-Gon is a Grey Jedi.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
No, he's not. That was never confirmed in canon, nor in the movies.
I want to say,
and there are no Grey Jedi.
I want to say this
for the most part.
I want to say this because he's spewing on about, the Jedi should have left the Order.
No, Anakin should have. Anakin should have done his own thing.
No. Jedi were, if you go to the Old Republic,
instead of him being the hypocrite that he turned out.
Jedi were fine with you having sex. You just could not have the.
That's not true.
I'm in love with you.
That's not true.
Yes, you can.
No, they weren't.
There were a number of Jedi who were engaging in sexual acts.
In the EU?
No, in the prequel. Well, go by
not in the prequels.
In the prequels, yes. In the prequels,
no,
yes.
Not in the prequel movies. George Lucas said multiple times that Jedis, that was his canonical thing. Jedis cannot be in relationships. They cannot fall in love. They can't have sex. Well, they can't do that.
See, no.
George Lucas made that crystal clear back then.
No, he made it back then, yes. But also, he was not consistent. So therefore, fans created that very loophole that also explored the very realm in which
the fans are making that shit up. But I don't care what fans are making up. I'm going by George Lucas, who made Star Wars.
So since we're on Star Wars and Star Wars itself, let's go. So they recapped episode 4 in episode 5. We're talking about episode 5. They recapped episode 4 with the insight of the future for another.
Yeah.
Now that was a nice opportunity to cover because it does leave you to wonder what will happen in the next episode. We can speculate, we can give our own thoughts. It may not be great, you may not agree with it, and that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. If you're offended, you're in the wrong place. You've consented to being offended by watching this channel.
True. We're not politically correct.
We're not politically correct. We're not getting into politics as much as they may come up. A couple of political issues may come up.
Yeah, we kind of went on a little political tangent in connection to Star Wars. But the example was George Lucas was criticizing, shitting on the Nazis and Republicans.
Let's step away from politics.
That's all. That's the point I was making.
And I'm just talking about what the Nazis actually are, and that is all. Anyways, moving on to the next part, the point.
Or what they were before they became what they were.
Well, because we don't want to go into another political tangent.
Yeah.
God forbid, and it's like I have to delete the whole fucking video. Like,
Not this video.
This
video is going up anyway.
This is a mislabel. This is a misdirect here. No.
This video is going up anyway.
Ahsoka losing her lightsaber duel against Balin. I forget his last name.
Was awesome.
Against Balin, which
it made perfect sense.
An awesome thing.
He's like 10 years older than her.
Well, no, he's wiser. I don't know. I don't care about the age.
No, but he's 10 years older than her, which means he has more experience as a Jedi. He's been a Jedi and a martial arts sword fighter much longer with more experience. It made sense that he would defeat her in a lightsaber duel. It was brilliant. But go ahead.
Now, I want to mention this. Ahsoka lost, and she was thrown off a cliff.
Right. Knocked her off.
Knocked her off, pushed her off, same thing.
She landed into the ocean and went to a different reality.
Which I want to address. How the hell does that happen?
There's something about that planet.
There's something about the
There's
water.
something about that planet.
All right, so
that planet is a Jedi location. It used to be a Jedi location.
No. So,
it was a Jedi spiritual place.
No, it was a Night Sister place. It's a night witch area.
Right, but Jedi's would go there too.
No. So there are some planets, and I try to remember the third one, but there are some planets that have a connection to the Force in which you can see visions.
Yeah.
The Cave of Dagobah being the most iconic, where Luke saw a vision of Vader, of him fighting Vader.
Right, but that was like a dark side place that for some reason Yoda could just chill in.
Yes, believe it or not,
the most powerful Jedi could just chill on a dark side planet.
The Cave of Dagobah is strong.
That was so funny. I thought that was funny when I rewatched the movie. I'm like, this place is a dark side location, and yet Yoda is cool just chilling there.
Now it's not just Dagobah. We know, and we're gonna include all Disney locations. We know the planet that Luke was training. What's her name? Ray. R-A-Y.
That was a Force-sensitive place. That was an old Jedi location. That was an old Jedi. And in real life, that island used to be a refuge and a meeting place for Christians over 1,500 years ago. Christians used to live there. They used to camp there. And they used to have church there as well. And sermons and church and all types of stuff. And what was so great is that they used that location as a place for the Jedi. And, George Lucas kind of based the Jedis on Christianity and other positive aspects of Buddhism and samurais and stuff like that. And the Sith were more based on ninjas and other things like that. So I thought that connection was really, really great.
I want to mention.
I love that place. I thought that place was awesome.
I want to mention. So you have the Cave of Dagobah. You have that planet that Ray trained on.
Yeah.
The Forest of Kashyyyk, the Wookiee homeworld. The forests themselves also have a connection to the Forest where you can go in and you'll have a similar experience. Would not advise you to go in, considering that's the Wookiee homeworld, and Wookiees are not entirely the most open-hearted, welcoming guests on their planet when it comes to outsiders. There is another planet, I'm trying to remember the name of it, and as much as I try to remember, it's failing, I'm drawing blanks, and that's probably because I'm drinking a little bit. And if anybody's wondering why I keep making an expression while having a sip of my drink, it's because it's a very cold drink, which has a very strong mix of...
I don't see a drink on the table, though. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, it's my bad.
It's your bad.
Well, it's a strong mix of coffee and alcohol, which is actually nice.
Cool.
I'm gonna look it up. So I don't know if it's film locations, and unfortunately, because Disney is advertising a lot of stuff. Naboo is one. I'm trying to remember if it was the forest or the swamp. One of the locations themselves, say the swamp, the woods, the Greenland. But there's a location on Naboo that can also provide you with some force connection, insight into a premonition and such.
Okay. Cool.
I know I'm a little quiet. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
No, it's all right.
Yes. So the cave of Dagobah is a dark side cave,
Okay.
or the cave of darkness is what it is. Cave of evil, cave of darkness, along those lines. Now they call it Up 2, which is the place where they found Luke, where he throws a lightsaber behind him. I found that to be very disheartening.
Okay.
Coruscant is actually strong in the Force, though it's strong on the light side due to it being a
Yeah. I
planet
mean,
in which the Jedi have.
that's where the Jedis are,
and
yeah.
Built their temple.
Yeah.
Now, prior to anyone wondering, does Coruscant ever
which
been
got
attacked?
turned into a
Yes.
Empire training ground.
The Coruscant was attacked at one point during the Sith Empire and Old Republic. There was the sacking of Coruscant, much like the sacking of what's that place historically? There's an event that happened, but it was something similar. You have Dagobah, we know that. Dathomir, excuse me. Dathomir is a planet that is it's a nexus. It's strong in the dark side of the Force, and there's dark side energy. The Night Witches, the Night Sisters themselves, were a clan of supernatural entities, or supernatural beings who were able to control a source of darkness and magic on the dark side of the Force. We know them, they're iconic, ash pale skin, either bald, some form of hair, or they just don't ever show their head. Now I want to say, as much as people don't want to count the Disney sequel as anything canon, Exegol, which we know is where the Empire was. That was a dark side domain.
You know, that was actually a cool planet. And yeah, the sequel trilogy is canon. You don't have to like the sequel trilogy, but it's canon. Just like people who used to hate the prequels, they were canon too. So it doesn't, like, your personal dislike of something doesn't make something not canon.
Yeah,
that's not how canon works. Canon doesn't work based on how you feel about something.
Now I want to mention this. There's if you go to Star Wars number 20 comic books, the Living Sea of Gazian, that's another location.
But Exegol, going back to that, I love that. I did love that scene where the Emperor is like announcing all the different groups that are there, and you have people who are part of like and they of the Revan part. There was, this group is Revan, this group is this group is that. And it was great because they made Darth Revan canon in that movie. I remember watching that. I was like, okay, that was one of the few good moments that I got a kick out of. Even though it was a terrible movie, I loved that part. That part made me happy. That put a smile on my face because I love Knights of the Old Republic so much. It's one of the greatest games ever. So, you know.
Hi.
Oh, hey, what's up? Yeah, it's good to see you again.
How
Yeah.
are you?
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Oh my goodness, good.
It's good to see you again. Yeah, it's good to see you again.
Hey.
Good to see you here. Awesome.
I was like, I know that voice.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
Awesome.
I
Yeah.
can't complain. School and all that stuff.
We're just live streaming. We're doing a show.
It's good. Oh,
Yeah.
you really?
Yeah, we're just doing a show right now. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
I want to mention that Ilum, which we all know is where all the Jedi, even Sith, went to get their kyber crystals.
Yeah, that's in the comic books, yeah.
Yes, Ilum,
I remember that.
Ilum is a planet that is strong in the Force as
Yeah.
well. Now, as to which side, doesn't matter. Lothal being the iconic world.
Also in Rebels, too, there was a planet where Ahsoka went to.
Lothal is one.
Oh, wait, yeah, they went to Lothal to...
And Malachor.
That was in season 2. No.
Lothal was the start of Rebels.
No, not Lothal. It was another planet they went to in the season 2 finale.
Malachor? No, Moraband. No, that's still Korriban.
It was in the season 2 finale, where Ahsoka went to, and that's where they got confronted by Darth Maul. There was a big battle between the Jedis and the Sith in the old Jedi versus Sith wars. That was mentioned at the end of the season 2 finale. It was the last 2 episodes, and that's where Vader showed up to fight Ahsoka. That's one of the greatest episodes of all time. But yeah, that was at the end of Rebels.
Anyways,
season 2 of Rebels.
I'm not gonna keep going because the list goes on and on and on, and I strongly advise you look into it yourself.
Yeah, but look up that planet.
No, I didn't see it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I saw Malachor and I saw.
But that planet was kind of a force-sensitive planet.
Yes, Malachor was strong on the dark side because there was a dark side temple there.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna talk about how the relic was destroyed. It took a little bit of a time to destroy the relic with a lightsaber, to cut it in half, but it was cut in half, by the way. I'm not sure if that should even occur. Well, we can go by blast doors from episode 1. The lightsabers can melt through the structure of metal. That's what constitutes a blast door. As to what that relic is made of, it's not a blast door material. However, I believe it took a little too long to destroy it, so it should have been a little bit faster. Now we're going to talk about the the fact that there was that suicidal approach from Hera and all those of the X-Wings that got in front of the giant space ring.
Uh-huh.
The ring of marriage to the dark side. We'll call it that. What the fuck was that about?
What?
Put 5 lifeboats in front of a freaking instead of a cruiser, a cruise ship. You think that thing's gonna stay? You think it's gonna block it? No, it's gonna run right over.
You mean with the pilot negotiating with the 3 ships?
No. I'm gonna get to that in a second.
Okay. That was funny. I thought that was a funny scene.
I want to mention that in the beginning of episode 5, there was the whole scene where the X-Wings are flying overhead on the planet. So they're flying over the planet, on the surface, they're flying over the trees, the water, all the background. And you have Hera, whose rank is general, by the way, so she should have an escort or a detail.
Yeah.
But she doesn't have an escort or a detail. Meanwhile, she has her son, Jason, that's on the ship.
Which is great. I do love that son is, he's the son of Kanan. So Kanan and Hera did have sex, which is great. And he got her pregnant before he died. And so his son is half... What's Hera's creatures again? What's her?
Twi'lek.
Twi'lek? He's half Twi'lek, and he's half human. And he's strong in the Force, and he's very, very powerful. I love it. I hope to see like a grown-up version of him somewhere down the road.
I want to mention, we're going to get into that a little bit later. But it's just Hera, Jason, and Chopper on the planet. There's no New Republic troops. If something happens to Hera, they go to the fucking general.
Right.
I mean, like, what kind of...
Well, she went there without telling them, so of course she's going to be there by herself. That wasn't a problem.
What bothers me is you have all of these X-Wing pilots. You have 3 X-Wings.
She was there with 5 pilots.
There was 5 pilots aside her. 2 of them died. One of them had their engine blown out, I believe.
Yeah.
So there's 3 left, no matter what. So you have 3 X-Wing pilots. One of them could have landed on the ground, joined her in securing that area, but no. So she finds Hu Yang.
But I mean, it did make sense that she doesn't have anybody on her ship. Those 5 pilots she probably got together on her own without any help from the Senate at all. So it definitely made sense to me that she would mostly be there on her own. Like I didn't think that was an issue.
I'm gonna say there was an issue because again,
But she was there on her own.
Well, we'll go with that.
She only had 5 pilots. If
that.
she had permission from the Senate, she would have had 50 ships with her. I mean, it's like they're really on their own because the Senate doesn't want to. Because the Senate doesn't want to help her. Because I think, in fact, I know that maybe half the Senate is still secretly working for the Empire, so they don't want to help Ahsoka at all. They want Thrawn to come back.
Anyways, we're gonna.
So there's that.
We're gonna go on with the Hu Yang finding Sabine's helmet, which was focused on a lot. I don't know if it's a symbolic gesture showing that Sabine is gone. Oh, and forgive me for the faint bullshit of a cry, but I'm not able to have that physically, so no. So Hu Yang's holding her helmet. They show her helmet quite a lot. You'd think that helmet has to have something in it, maybe an image of a star map or something. But no. We do know that the episode where everyone is excitedly talking about is that Ahsoka is standing on a bridge, with Anakin. As to where they are at, I have no clue. Is it a Force-sensitive planet? I cannot confirm.
That planet's Force sensitive.
Most likely dark side. Most likely a dark side Force-sensitive planet.
But that area,
because the Night Sisters have their temple,
yeah,
their structures, their monuments.
Yeah, but that area,
where the Night Sisters go, where the Night Sisters pilgrimage to.
Yeah. But that's the same area.
They tend to leave a dark side sense there on the planet.
But that's the same area that was shown in the end of Rebels, I think. I think that's probably the same location. That might be the same afterlife. Either way, Anakin is in charge of it.
Either way. Well, no, because when it comes to the Force, it doesn't necessarily mean that your master being there is in charge of it.
No, but Anakin is the master of that location. He is the one who's in charge of that location.
I wouldn't say he's the master of that location.
He's the guardian. I'm saying he's the guardian. He's the guardian of that location. He's the guardian of that area.
I digress. I disagree with you on that.
I think he is.
We're going to talk about this.
And I think Dave Filoni can confirm that. We had to see what he has to say about what that location was.
I hope he answers that question.
But I still love that Anakin did complete Ahsoka's training. So, overall, I would give the first 3 episodes like a total 9 out of 10. Or episode 4, 9 out of 10. Episode 5, I give it 10 out of 10. So go ahead with your other notes.
We're going to bring this up. Because at the end of this, if I'm able to see a little bit more, I'll probably check the rating. Ahsoka having lost her lightsaber duel with Balin was confirmed by Anakin. It's like, why am I here? You lost.
Yeah.
I'm here thinking, oh shit, you died. Damn. And regarding memory, because
Yeah, she lost the fight.
he said Anakin told Ahsoka he needed to finish her training, and she made the comment about
And this is,
memory.
but I also wanted to point this out. This is how you know that the strategy and the storytelling in Disney Star Wars is it's a huge disconnect because Dave Filoni just showed a powerful female Jedi that she had to complete her training. She had to go through training again and complete her training again to become super powerful. Meanwhile, you got the sequel trilogy with J.J. Abrams where Rey Skywalker is super powerful with no training whatsoever. So there's no consistency across the board. And we are also seeing a lack of consistency in Marvel, but that lack of consistency has been there with Star Wars since almost day one. Since day one, there's been a lack of consistency.
All right, so Anakin is present to finish her training. What comes up is a lesson because that's what she asked. She's like, what's the lesson about?
Yeah.
He told her the lesson is about life or death, basically.
Yeah.
And one of the things at the start of that so-called response from him about training, prequel lightsaber styles come back. You're not getting swinging sticks anymore. They're not getting that. You're getting more finesse.
Yeah, it was cool
movement.
to see. It was cool to see some. Hey, what's up? It was cool. It was cool to see some German style sword fighting. There was some of that.
There was a little.
There was a little bit of that. Like when
There
she
a little
was
of the English style
when
too.
14-year-old Ahsoka was fighting with the two lightsabers, she was like twirling her lightsaber in the back and doing that and stuff like that. And yeah, that was cool. I thought that was really cool.
I want to mention that it's nice to see the prequel style lightsaber come back because I know people grew up and they loved the original trilogy lightsaber combat. However, because I was introduced,
We
to
saw
the
some of
prequel,
that.
Seeing the
That was
prequel
cool.
style, the prequel is just much superior. Huyang,
But it's also cool seeing Dave Filoni doing like in the right way because the problem with George Lucas, the prequels, was that there was a lot of style and visuals over substance. So yeah, the lightsaber duels were really cool, but because the writing was so
bad.
What's up? You're putting us on tape? Huh?
Sam.
Awesome, great.
Exactly, guys.
Awesome, great, thank you. Tag us on Instagram. But what was so great, it was
You have an Instagram?
yeah, I'm on Instagram. I forget my Instagram name.
Podcast, right?
Yeah.
Doing a podcast, YouTube video.
Yeah, but what I did love was the problem was that the writing was so lousy is that I mostly didn't care about the characters. And I found because the dialogue and some of the acting was a lot of dialogue was terrible and the acting was inconsistent. The only character who I found to be likable and that I really connected with on a recent viewing was Obi-Wan Kenobi. I didn't care about Anakin. The 10-year-old boy was annoying and terrible. Hayden Christensen has always been a terrible actor. Even though he's gotten a little bit better recently, he'll always suck. But Attack of the Clones, I just didn't care about the love story, which was so dead in the water. But I do love how with Dave Filoni's writing, he makes you love and care about the characters. Therefore, when he's doing the cool prequel lightsaber duels, it's like I'm more emotionally invested, and I'm like, wow, these lightsaber duels are great, and now I care about it a lot more because I really do care about the characters.
I want to mention this. Regarding your displeasure for that, we'll address it in another video. I want to mention that Huyang saying the map is broken and it's untraceable. Seeing as how the map was shown to us,
Yeah,
you don't need Huyang repeating that or stating it. It's just like it's unfortunate to use anything. Now I want to mention that Jason was the highlight of this episode, not Ahsoka. Jason being the highlight of this episode. His comments to Hera and to Carlson was, the water feels strange.
yeah.
The water's strange. Listen to the water. And Hera,
Thank you for telling me.
Hera abusing her rank was ironically, it was many ways ironic because it was a whole Solo reference.
Yeah.
Solo never cared about rules. Though the fact that Jason was able to hear the lightsabers shows his ability in the Force is something that's present. Which again, this episode,
He's a very powerful Force user.
this episode showed you that yes, Ahsoka's a flawed character that needed a character built more. But we were introduced to Jason, who right off the bat has the ability to sense something without training or any form if we're aware of training.
Yeah,
So the fact that Hera ordered Carlson to get the others to sweep over the water, patrol.
right.
And Carlson asking, well, what's so great about water? And Huyang mentions that, well, Jason's father is Kanan, who is a Jedi. Kanan being powerful. That's not how entirely it works, but all right, we'll go with that.
Wait, what? What didn't work?
No, it's not. So Jedi having children does not necessarily mean the child are Jedi to be.
Yeah, they are.
No.
That's exactly what it means.
No.
Well, I mean, not when the Jedi's were created their stringent rules about not marrying or having sex. I mean, I don't know, but no, if a Jedi is or somebody who's a powerful Force user and they have children, that child is going to be a Force user. They could become Jedi always in Star Wars. It's in George Lucas. George Lucas made that crystal clear too. Even though Anakin was not conceived by a man, he was conceived by the Force through his mother. Everybody who's a Force user, who's powerful in the Force, if they have children, they're going to be powerful in the Force. Whether they choose to be Jedi or not is their decision. Because Leia chose not to be a Jedi; she became a general, and Luke became a Jedi. So yeah.
Mind you, what Disney did to Luke Skywalker is a tragedy. It's a travesty. We mourn Mark Hamill's character's death, and bastardization by a mouse that has no idea where the cheese is at.
Yeah, all the legacy characters kind of got fucked over in that,
Yeah,
in that regard.
Disney said we don't need the old fans. We want a new fan.
Exactly.
So-
It was classic corporatism where we're going to get out the old and in with the new, but their execution and the process of them doing that pissed the fans off, and the box office receipts just got worse and worse. Even though all three movies made $1 billion, they could have done better.
Apparently, they spent more than what they claim as well. But I will say this.
Look at what Cobra Kai did. Cobra Kai was able to. Cobra Kai made you
they kept the legacy.
What's up, Jackie? Cobra Kai.
Characters.
Cobra Kai had the new characters, but they had the old classic characters. They made you love the old classic characters that you already loved, and then through them made you love the new characters, but also always respected the old characters and the legacy characters. That is what the sequel trilogy of Star Wars should have done, but they never did it.
Nope, they decided to say, fuck the old characters, fuck the old crowd, in with the new, you guys are not needed.
Not the best way to do it.
We got our group of Twitter nut jobs that we'll pan it to.
Yeah.
And the truth is, you don't create a product aimed at a fringe, tiny minority of individual, the population, that could be 1%, maybe less than 1%, possibly even less than the 0.999 or maybe that 0.1, the 0.00000000001% of the population. You don't do that.
Right.
Financially, it's a bad decision. You'll lose money. I want to mention that the whole transition to me of Anakin teaching Ahsoka when he cut the bridge with the lightsaber, because she said, "I know all the things you've taught me."
Hit the like and subscribe, y'all.
Where he told Ahsoka, "There's some things you haven't learned," and Ahsoka made the comment of, "I know all the things you've taught me," and he goes, "Not everything," and he cuts the bridge. I thought that was interesting because she then falls from the bridge. You think she would fall momentarily and just sit nothing? No, but she ends up on the ground. It's covered in fog. At this point, you're thinking, well, she must be dead. No. So now we're in the point of where time is passing in the Force. You have clone troopers running by. At first, I thought they were stormtroopers. I was like, wait, no, I have to. Okay, it's clone troopers. And you have Ahsoka at a young age with Anakin, who's on the ground, getting up and then moving forward, which is an interesting It's an interesting scene because you see the military charge of where Ahsoka was as a Jedi, being a militant Jedi. And how when she's present in the camp of clone troopers who are moving clones who have died on gurneys up out of the way, Ahsoka is lamenting the death of one of the clone troopers. She's holding his hand, kind of just there weeping. And not crying, she's there with her head down. And the fact that she blames herself for the deaths of the clone troopers, death is not an easy thing to really tackle, let alone speak on, because death is, yes, it's a natural part of our life cycles. However, death is very difficult to really grasp.
Yes, we're talking about Star Wars. We're talking about Ahsoka. We're reviewing and talking about Ahsoka, but go ahead. Yeah.
Wait, what was that question?
He was just asking, Jackie, he was asking about, you guys talking about Star Wars? Yeah, we're talking about Ahsoka episodes 4 and 5, but go ahead.
We're talking about episode 5 right now, where Ahsoka was more or less lamenting and grieving the deaths of so many troopers.
Yeah, she was dealing with Survivor's Guild. She was dealing with the trauma and the grief of all that she lost in the Clone Wars and her and all the lives that she lost during the war against the Empire, which for her lasted for 23 years. She's been in war since she was 14 years old, and dealing with the trauma and the loss of her master, she blames herself for losing him.
It's not just that. It's not just that. If you
Anakin's job.
If you keep up with the Clone Wars and Rebels, Ahsoka's lost more than just Anakin.
Yeah, but Anakin was like the biggest loss too,
Yep.
and so her dealing with that, that's what Anakin was trying to help her with. He was trying to help her push through that and to move on, to work through that, and to become the Jedi that she was always meant to be. And he completed her training. I love the process of that whole episode.
I found a comment Anakin made to her about having a Padawan in the future, where she is then stating, whatever, and he tells her it's not all that cut out to be.
It's going to be Kanan's son. Kanan's son's going to be her Padawan.
That is a speculation. And
Sabine.
That is a speculation.
Sabine is her Padawan, but Sabine is not really that powerful in the Force. She
doesn't really have an aptitude for the Force.
She's not that powerful really at all. If she had a midichlorian count, it'd be like 10. Like it'd be like number 10 or less. Yeah, I think Kanan's son will be her Padawan, because if there is a midichlorian count, he's like at 1,000. It would be it could be as high as Anakin's.
Speculation, but I want to say that Jason has portrayed he's sensitive to the Force. So I believe in the speculation that Jason will be Ahsoka's Padawan, not Sabine. Sabine will most likely have fallen to the dark side of temptation for what she desires. Because there are ways you can taunt or tempt people to the dark side without being Sith. Jedi sort of did it. Look at what's her name? They ruined her.
Ruined her.
In the Clone Wars, where she takes the Ventress's lightsabers.
I don't remember that episode. I haven't seen every episode of Clone Wars. I've seen like half the episodes. I'm trying to watch them in order is great and all, but it's like that's a lot of episodes to try and figure out where to go and where to
say it.
What to see.
Say it. Don't spray it.
But I've watched every episode of season 7. Yeah, I've watched most of the episodes of Rebels. Barriss, yeah.
Barriss Toffee? I want to know her name. This is not killing me, but I want to know her name for the factual statements I'm going to make about it.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to make any statements that are anywhere misleading, false, or just incorrect. Barriss. Darn it. Barriss. Star Wars. Barriss Offee. Here we go. Yeah, see her.
Yeah. Okay. I know her. I remember her.
Her Mary Allen. She's a Mary Allen. The green skin, the noticeable tattoos, markings. She's a Jedi. She decided to say, she'll go more on the dark side. You don't have to be a Sith completely to be able to know and practice its abilities.
Right.
Look at not Qui-Gon. Look at Mace Windu being somebody who uses dark side.
He's also not a great Jedi.
His lightsaber. No. I didn't say he's a great Jedi. I said he does.
Yeah, but that was never completely confirmed in canon. That's a lot of fan theory on his purple lightsaber. But yeah.
Anyways,
there was a lot of fan theory on that.
Anyways, so one of the things that came up for Ahsoka was a question about what she's gonna do, but how she needs to fight. And she says, "What if she stops fighting?" Anakin tells her she will die. And what's funny is, after saying that, Anakin turns around and starts moving forward, and you see Anakin with the blue lightsaber fading in and out of the fog, and then when she sees Vader with the red lightsaber, kind of transition between Anakin and Vader moving in and out of the fog, so kind of like a blink. Which is actually a nice thing that she watched, because she herself saw Anakin go down the dark side and did nothing to stop him. Mm-hmm. Which adds to her guilt.
Yeah.
It's her...
She could see it. Even in season 7, she probably could... In the show, she could probably see it, but, she couldn't stop it. That does add to her guilt, yeah. I mean, and survival's guilt, among other things, yeah.
Which is something that, Star Wars doesn't necessarily always address.
They don't always explore that, yeah.
And to have that,
they don't always explore the heavy stuff, yeah.
I will admire and I give Dave Filoni a great deal of respect for touching on such a dark, heavy subject and matter.
And taking it seriously.
And taking it seriously without straying about comedy or humor.
And speaking of seriously, there hasn't been a lot of unnecessary comedy or jokes in
Well,
Ahsoka or
since
in
episode
any.
since episode 2 because
Like-
of Hu Yang making those comments and sounding
Yeah, that
more
was
human.
funny, but it was like, but still, it's like, you know, that's in episode 3, but that was in episode 2, but also in episode 3.
Okay.
But yeah, the humor and the levity is earned. It's respectful. It's not unnecessary. It's not too much Marvel craziness like what went on with The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi had way too much comedy, and that really hurt the movie in a really big way. But
It's not just that. It's
And
the
Ahsoka
comedy
takes
was
itself-
bad. The comedy was bad.
and it was unnecessary. It was too much. But Ahsoka takes itself very seriously.
Now, I want to mention the fact that let's get a little bit more in touch with what's going on with Hera. Her pilots for the X-wings are talking about the fuel reserves, and we ain't mentioning the distance of communication for the Republic,
Yeah.
which I think was a smart-ass answer. However, it was something that was well-deserved and well-needed for the episode.
Right.
Because you were getting a little boring, a little stale with, well, we're looking for somebody, we can't find anybody, and the little comment was more of a, that's good. I will respect that. And the fact that the mission is unsanctioned shows that Hera is thinking less as a suit in the New Republic and more as somebody who's an infield fighter, which leads to her questioning her leadership
Because they're corrupted.
because, well, they're corrupt.
They're owned by the Empire.
And
Half of
she-
them are owned by the Empire.
And she then asks Hu Yang, what was Ahsoka's master like? One of the things that you can understand is that Hu Yang, being the Jedi, the droid that oversaw younglings training, learning, and building lightsabers, that was a matter even he did not want to address, and he just told her, intense. Oh, I just moved the computer. My bad. Anyways, which is it's interesting to see that Hu Yang, being a droid, even a droid, has something he does not want to speak about, or it has nothing he wants to speak about. The fact that Jason was able to provide coordinate headings was interesting because Chopper was able to direct them, and that kind of felt a little odd as to why Chopper knows the location now instead of Jason, which left one to wonder, what does Chopper now have to do with the Force?
Right.
And again, I want to mention, as I mentioned earlier, Ahsoka was fighting with the Mandalorians on the Siege of Mandalore. Ahsoka was part of the reason why Mandalore fell. Let's get that out of the way. But she was just passing her lightsaber through Mandalorians, which leaves one to wonder if you paid attention to a lot of Star Wars going on with Mandalorian, if you want to include some concepts from the expanded universe, what they call legends. Mandalorian armor is strong enough to withstand the lightsaber and sort of deflect it. Beskar, which they updated in a manner because Mandalorian iron is stronger than Beskar, but now Beskar is stronger than Mandalorian iron, or they just haven't touched Mandalorian iron at all. Beskar being something Mandalorians use in their armor, you would start to see there's disconnect in the logic of the lore. Mandalore fell, even though the Mandalorians had Beskar in their armor. It leads to wonder, what does this have to do with anything now? Because now nothing is going on accurately with Mandalore and all the Mandalorians. I want to mention that on that very same instance, what's going on, Ahsoka was complimented for doing a good job, and I believe that was Rex.
Okay, cool.
You don't remember the clone trooper with the blue mark?
Yeah.
2 pistols? I believe that to be Rex.
In Ahsoka?
The whole thing, the flashback, the time, her siege on Mandalore,
Yeah, that probably was Rex. I think that would be great.
Rex.
Yeah.
and it's actually kind of funny. But again, I want to bring that up. There's no Mandalorian iron. There's no Beskar in any of the armor and equipment the Mandalorians are using. Okay. So remember that scene in Clone Wars? Anakin wasn't present, so Anakin appears like, I'm not familiar with this campaign, and she tells him it's the Siege of Mandalore, which Anakin then responds to. Well, he's complimenting her about her training. He mentions Obi-Wan briefly. And then Ahsoka is questioning both Anakin and herself. Now, we get the whole we're drawn back into episode 3, where Anakin's got his back to Obi-Wan, draws his lightsaber, turns it on.
Yeah.
Same scene plays out with Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it was really great.
Episode 3.
It was also like really great the way Anakin the way Ahsoka would see Anakin and then Darth Vader, like the switching in between. Yeah.
So it shows you that Ahsoka was aware, though due to not being able to really do much, she did nothing to stop it.
She also wasn't 100% certain either.
That's true.
She was 14 at the time. Plus, we could say that Ahsoka is time traveling and is seeing it because she already knows it.
Yep.
Back then, when she was 14, she had no idea. She wouldn't know. But with Ahsoka time traveling in her 40s and going back to being the young 14-year-old version, that would make sense that she would see a vision like that.
So I do want to mention that in that scene where he has his back to Ahsoka drawing his lightsaber,
Yeah.
he turns around and strikes at her. She blocks, and his strike is rather strong and heavy. It's a heavy down slash.
Mm-hmm.
But he throws her with the Force, and she flies out onto that bridge again. And now instead of Anakin, you see Vader, or where Anakin has turned into Vader with the eyes and everything, being the one to approach and duel her. That fight between the Master and the Apprentice was a homage to Episode 3.
Yeah.
Where Anakin duels Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And what's interesting was that fight wasn't her being overpowered or being underpowered. It was her as a Jedi following her training.
And he wasn't a Jedi Knight, but they gave him a Padawan anyway.
Yeah. Which kind of breaks the rules of the Jedi Order.
Yeah, it was George Lucas not being consistent because in the opening crawl, he said Anakin and Obi-Wan are Jedi Knights, but then in the movie they said they're not going to make Anakin a Jedi Knight. So George Lucas was just like he really needed to work with other people. Like the problem with those movies.
Episode 3 and the scene with the Jedi Masters would give you the rank of.
They didn't give him a rank. They never did, and that's what pissed him off. He was like, "This is ridiculous. I fought in a war for 3 years. I'm not even given a rank. I'm not a Jedi Knight or whatever." It's like, but in the opening crawl it said he was a Jedi Knight, and so, like,
inconsistency.
George Lucas was very much inconsistent with those movies, and the problem is that he needed a second opinion. Like he needed like different directors and other writers.
Marshall Williams
and Marshall Lucas.
Marshall Lucas.
Like. He had a whole team of people that made the original trilogy as great as it was, and they weren't perfect. They had their flaws, but they were still amazing. But because he was working with so many other people, with the prequels, it was just him doing everything and getting the final cut. But he needed to work with other people because, like, if you could see something glaringly that obvious, that's an inconsistency. You needed a second opinion.
I want to mention that in the duel between Anakin and Ahsoka was able to disarm and take Anakin's lightsaber. And rather than strike him down, his question to her came up with an answer. She answered, she chooses to live. So, Anakin backs away, and from the dark side, he reverses the light.
Yeah.
But I'm curious why this planet happens to have such a connection to the Force.
Right.
And we answered already. It's a Night Sister home world. Well, it's a Night Sister world.
Yeah.
In which the dark side and the Force is present. Now, we're gonna go with we're gonna speed up a bit. We're gonna go further and show that Ahsoka was slowly being submerged in water. And when she's in water, she sort of regains consciousness, sees a light. Why, you know what I mean, unconscious is beyond me. However, now you have a diver coming off of the ghost into the water. We didn't know it was ghost at the time. You have somebody come down to get her out, pull her out. She's laid out on the ship, which is the ghost. We see it. I've noticed that they're always gentle with Rosario Dawson's head.
Right.
It's the headdress herself. And she gasps, saying Anakin twice. Now, this is before she passes out completely, and then we get a little time skip. We get a little skip in the episode. She's on the planet. She is inside the ghost. She's in the bed. She wakes up. The odd part was that the light came on to her way too fast.
Okay.
Pay attention to the lighting. You see how it goes up. It goes here and it goes like that real quick. Real quick. You see Jason smile at Ahsoka. You know, that little banter between Jason and Ahsoka about the ship, being told about his ship, and then being told, no, it's a Jedi starship. The whole banter about the training room, which they were going to show him, which was like Liang said. He's like, can you train me? Are you training me? He's like, no. He's like, can you build a lightsaber? He's like, yes. Can I build one? He's like, nope. I thought that was comedically perfect. It reminded me of more 3PO than, say, R2. But it kind of had a mix of R2 in it. I want to mention two things. The fact that the pilot, because I want to skip the whole thing with Sabine, because at this point the helmet has nothing to do with the episode anymore. I want to mention that the pilot has gone on to, by Hera's orders, to stall the New Republic ships coming to get Hera and Ahsoka.
Right.
That was funny. That was funny. Carson being a smartass. He's like, I need to verify your rank and whatever.
That was funny, yeah.
I'm like, you do realize you're talking to somebody who is...
The stalling tactic I liked. I thought that was cool.
I thought that was really cool. It was
cool.
humorous. I thought it was comedic. And you know what was great about it? It wasn't overtly done. It wasn't like, no, I'm not going to tell you because that's not whatever. It was more so, well, they're busy, but I need to confirm who you are, who you say you are.
Yeah.
It's like, you know who I am.
Yeah, it wasn't over the
Even
top.
the bridge commander was like, you know who I am.
Yeah.
And they show that a couple times, and like, listen, I'm gonna pull rank on your ass, and you're gonna get demoted. You're gonna get kicked out. He's like, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. He's like, all right, that banter was good. It was good to that point. To that point, it was a really good banter.
And then she finally saw it, and she was like, holy shit, space whales. Yeah, space whales.
Okay.
Space whales.
Well, he explained the plan.
She was like, what the hell?
And you can see everyone like, what? And you see Hera along. Well, let's get to that point where Ahsoka spaced with the Star Whale mother with the Force, and it's funny how we're like, all right, those will take us to where we're going, right? It's like maybe. That was funny. That was Anakin humor there. Anakin humor, which is good. But two things out of it. Anakin's humor is kind of a smartass, but very light.
Yeah.
So with Hera flying alongside the whales after Ahsoka and Huyang are on the ship inside of the mother whale's mouth and whatnot, Hera informs the fleet to make way because the whales are going by.
Yeah.
Then, as you said, the captain of that ship sees it and is like, all right, everybody evasive maneuvers. And it's funny because the whole scene is how majestic these whales are. I understand whales are majestic, but star whales, I don't know why that's majestic.
Right.
They go into hyperspace, and then you have the whole scene about, well, before they go to hyperspace, Hera Potter is not going, saying that Jason's too young, blah, blah, blah. The star whales jump into hyperspace after the whole majestic moment, and the whales are gone, focusing on the stars.
Right. Okay.
And that's basically a recap of everything from the episode.
It was awesome. It was a fantastic ending. I'm super excited for episode 6. I hope it's great. I hope we get to see a whole new galaxy. I hope we're going to see Thrawn in episode 6. It's just going to be an exciting time. This has been like the best thing for Star Wars since season 1 of Andor. You know.
I want to say, with the way things are going, season 6, we're likely to meet Thrawn, or we're likely to see Thrawn in a few scenes, do something, whatever. We're likely to see a possibility of an appearance of, what's his name? Ezra Bridger.
Yeah, we're going to see Ezra Bridger.
We're probably
yeah.
likely to see Ezra Bridger next
We're seeing Ezra,
6
yeah.
or 7. And Thrawn will be appearing possibly in episode 6 or 7. And with the way things are going, I feel with the story that they're going for Heir of the Empire here, they're going to give her the throne before anything else. So that creates a little bit of an issue if they get rid of Thrawn. I'm a little skeptic about it.
I think it's going to end in a tragic kind of way. I feel like the way Dave Filoni's hyping it up, it's probably going to be like an Empire Strikes Back ending. And it's going to set things up for his movie that he's supposed to come out in like 3 years.
Well, I hope so.
Because after Ahsoka, there's season 4 of The Mandalorian, which will probably be the last season that leads into the movie. Yeah.
Well, I'm maybe 5 was a little too harsh. Maybe like a high 6.
Okay.
A high 6.
7.
I wouldn't say 7, but it's high. It's high.
You give it a 7. I'm just going to say you give it a 7. Steve gave it a 7.
I gave it a 6.
7 out of 10.
I gave it a 6 out of 10. There's still some elements that I'm just not happy with.
So I guess we'll just wrap this up.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up because I am starting to think I need to read a couple of things from Star Wars before I comment any further.
Okay. That's cool. All right, guys. This is great. This is Brian J's Nerd Talk. I'll talk to y'all later. This is great. And live long and prosper. And yeah, this is it. This is awesome. Talk to y'all later.